Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Hi, everyone. Today's Monday, January the 12th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. Earnings, believe it or not, are upon us again, and we're going to have pretty exciting the next few weeks, but it feels like there's so much more going on in the market. You're almost like, yeah, earnings, yeah, whatever. But they are going to be important. What I want to start with in the E-mini S&P is the 4-hour chart so that we can keep our eyes on the big picture. The big picture is we're still headed higher. Higher lows, higher highs. All right, there's a big connection down with this trend line and then the higher one that is closer. We have two alerts set here today. Actually, we should probably make it 3 since this is a target zone. Let's make this a target event. And so what we are thinking is pullbacks are going to be buy zones. So where's the ideal pullback event? Well, we just missed it at about 2 o'clock this morning. Let's go to 30-minute. At about 3:30 this morning, it triggered this test, old support, and then the recapture of the zone. But trend is negative, and momentum, though in negative location, is starting to lift. So what you want to look for is a double bottoming event at this 69.50 area. Remember, the storyboard is if and then. If it comes back to 69.50 and it holds the area. Now, holds the area might mean it's got about a 5-point stop underneath there. Then it's going to be an upside pressure event first into the point of control and then, wherever the VWAP is sitting and into relative resistance. Our first target event is going to be up here near 69.79. Let me see. It won't let me do that. Okay, because I set these markers on the 4-hour, they're a little bit wide, so they might come off a little early when my alert triggers, but that 69.75 is a number that we know. 69.79 resistance. Remember, these red candles are candles that are saying, hey, listen, I'm breaking the ATR of this formation. So as the ATR breaks, right, and we go, wow, this is moving faster than the ATR prescribes in the space, and it gets below that moving average, we know we've got sell zone formations. This is the first area, old support, potentially new support, the buy area 69.50, and the take profit area 69.75, all the way up to 7,006 and beyond. Could we just chop around in here? Yes, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We've got the Supreme Court coming out with the rulings on the tariffs. A lot of people saying constitutionally boundaries were stepped over, blah, 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 blah. We could have ourselves a very volatile market. Just be careful. You want to be very careful. We do notice 4-hour charts are upside, but notice what happens. Every time we get a big rise, 100% of the move gets retraced, right? Especially over the last several days. So we really need to be careful there. Losing 69.50. Let's say if it comes to 69.50 and it bounces, but it cannot stay over 69.57, we've got short action into the lower boundaries of support, and that is 69.22 all the way to potentially 69.11, right? That's where one of our last numbers is sitting. The VWAP for this time frame is 69.13. So we would look at it that way. When you start trading and you say, oh, okay, I need to set something up, remember, we never know whether we're going to be right. The only thing we can control is how much risk we have at play. That's why we have to say if and then. Because if the if comes in, hey, if we get to 750, I'm shorting it. Okay, there's no and. You just have a then there. But what if you get to 750 and the price action starts rising? How do you know where the stop action is going to be? Right? That's what makes things very difficult. Here in the NQ, this is a very messy pattern. Deep dips, clearly buys. However, this area at 25,750, if you want to go long, you must, once it gets up over that level, you must wait for it to test above and pull back and give you a higher low. Right now, it moved above, broke down, tested the zone, broke down again, tested the zone again, and broke down. So to me, this looks like a very messy patch because although it's breaking down, it's making higher lows. That's a contrarian event. We have to watch for that. And so if you're staring that down, if you want to go short, you need to let it confirm. You want to go long, you need to let it confirm. Okay? Very, very important confirmation required here, simply because the chart is in a massively choppy space, inventory accumulating all around this particular zone. Where do I think the ideal bounce pattern is? I like 25,600, 25,598. If we can come down to that area and we bounce and retest with a higher low, we are going to have ourselves a pretty nice region. If you just come in and go, well, hey, I believe it's going to bounce right there, without watching it confirm, you've got about 30 to 35 points of risk based on this wick that you can try it that way. But the bounces are into selling pressure because trend is down and trend is master and commander. If you happen to get the double bottom at 25,600 and you're fortunate enough to hold it and it moves up above 25,750, it's time to take some profit, move your stop up, and you can walk it all the way up to the next trigger at 25,850. If it loses this 600 level, 25,600, the next line in the sand is more than 175 points below, okay? With a gamma line at 25,500, which used to be an old put wall, right? The new put wall is way to the north at 25,900, and so now 25,850. And that is, that tells us that the traders are a little upside down. So what we want to watch is where they're accumulating inventory. Obviously, they tried to accumulate here. It broke out. They were able to distribute for a profit. They tried to accumulate here. It broke out. They were able to distribute for a profit. What do I suspect? It's going to come down into this area, chop around, and then more than likely, oh, our oil trigger just went off. We'll see what goes on. More than likely, it'll move up to the north. Remember, if and then. Let's go to micro Bitcoin. This one, very choppy, very sideways, inventory accumulating all the way from, I say, 89,900 down to actually up to 90,000. We just lost this trigger just an hour ago. Look at the slope of momentum. Trend, very steep. Don't step in front of this bus. It's, you know, all gas, no brakes. So just be careful sitting right here. Watch for it to come in, test the put wall, and then begin to bounce. If it comes in, tests the put wall, and begins to bounce, and gives us a higher low, this is the formation, then you get yourself a long. Does that sound like a lot of things you got to do for a trade to go off? Yes, but I mean, you're not playing whack-a-mole, right? You're a day trader, so you've got to have some sense. You just can't go, hey, I'm buying it here. Just manage that risk. We do know value area low, 90,500, pretty important level. It's got to get up over this 90,685 and then retest it to let us know we've got upside traction. Right now, it still looks like the dips are getting bought, right? But this momentum event and this trend event means stay out of the way. Just watch yourself, okay? Call wall very high up, 95,000. Put wall Where in the world? Oh, the put wall's down at 80,000. So that's moved very far below. That's really something that we've got to watch. All right, let's take a look at the silver futures. Oops, sorry, wrong one. So here are silver futures moving up dramatically, right? This is war cycle movement, as well as, potential issues that might be going on with this one. Let me take a look at, let's use this contract. Let me double check on the price, if you don't mind. Hang on 2 secs. Okay, that's not the right contract. Yeah. Okay, so here we are up on the edge, right? We had a breakaway formation from last week. We're well over the call walls, absolutely blowing things out of the water right now. Our pullback event looks like potentially the one-day max. So here we are, $82.34. Pretty good formation. Now, look at trend, still up. Momentum has been drifting down for a bit, so dips are going to be buy zones. Here is the moving average that is holding this pocket in play. Here's the first line in the sand. It's 83.90 or so, right? That's old resistance, new support. If we break that ledge, chances are we will come all the way down into this 82.30 before moving to the north again. Momentum has really drifted off, but dips are still buys. Could you get in here and say, hey, I'm going to buy 83.18? Absolutely. You could. You really, really could. So let's put an alert there. I think it's a tricky one myself, but if you're into it, knock yourself out. A lot of traders have bought the 80-85 spread in SLV. They continue to buy those contracts. It is forcing price action to the north. Look at the volume. This is very speculative. That means it could reverse in a snap. And if it continues to move up very quickly, watch the CME come in and raise the margins one more time. Now, as stop-step traders, we don't have to worry about that. But for the rest of us that are trading these in the live markets, we know that's going to be a problem. Okay, let's go to oil. So oil futures zoomed up on the 9th, double topped in the overnight and the opening range formation. That gives us 59.80, right? The call wall is 60. Do you want to look at this and say, hey, where are these guys moving? 59.33 above there. If and it pulls back and holds 59, notice that implies 30 cents of risk. We're going to have trouble. Now, it's already tested this one just a moment ago. And this was my first buy zone event, 58.66. Just tested it. Now, remember, the buy zone, the trigger comes. So what do I want to see? I want to see a bounce and a pullback that holds the floor. I do not want to chase it. When the alert comes, I wait for the chart to tell me that it is firming up. Now, what's happening? I'm seeing some wicks, but I'm also making lower highs. The chart is not firming up there. I want to see higher highs and a pullback to higher lows so I can chase it. If not, I'm very likely to walk down this formation back into 58. All right? That's just my thought. My thought is that's where we head, and the deeper pullbacks will give us another buy zone event because I do believe oil is finally going to break out, particularly as tensions ease in Guyana, where Chevron really has its tentacles pressed in, and that could shift things quite dramatically. It's very, very interesting. Guyanese government not saying too much about what's going on with Venezuela. Everybody is overly quiet, waiting for some shoes to drop, I imagine. So, call wall up at 60, put wall 0 DTE at 57. The big put wall is still at 55. Kind of a big deal. Let's go to gold. Did I forget anything? I hope not. So here we are in gold. This is a massive move. Now, if you remember from way long ago, I said Martin Armstrong suggested that we could have a blow-off top up at about 4,640 for gold. So he has not given any higher targets on gold above this area. Why do I lean on Martin Armstrong? Well, as colorful as he is, he seems to have a very good array of quantitative data models that do very, very nicely with price. So what are we staring down? Massive move. Listen, we opened up at 45.40. We are almost 100 points higher. That's pretty crazy. This is geopolitical risk. This is geopolitical tension. That's all it is. Absolutely, without a doubt. Next Fed meeting comes up in just a little bit. And, of course, this business with Powell. Listen, I said this in Market Kickoff last night. Do not believe anything that you read unless it's been corroborated in 3 different independent spaces that are reputable. Otherwise, just imagine that it is noise trying to make you trade and clickbait, because literally that's all it is. Okay? So could this be what's going on with the Fed chair? Potentially. I see it as geopolitical risk. All right? Huge candlestick of buying. And the follow-up candlestick was down. So that's pretty interesting to me. We need to hold 46.14 for more upside pressure to give us a good signal to the north. Otherwise, what we're going to do is retrace some of this, and my suspicion is that the retrace event comes into the support area near 4,590, or it holds the value area high at, 4,594, 4,598. So these are really important zones. I'm going to create an alert here also. This one is tricky, right? It's a potential bleed, but anything coming across the wires, and it's good night, Irene, for the shorts. They're going to get absolutely destroyed because the upward pressure here is markedly significant. We are incredibly high above the call wall. It's just bananas. The call wall, everybody's going to be upside down. They're going to be buying to shift their gamma, and then, their delta, and then, who knows what happens on the shallow pullback, but there's literally no volume here. So filling in that volume gap seems appropriate, but we did have inventory accumulation from 44.21 to 45.30, which is 110 points. So 45.30 plus 110 points is 46.40, and that is very close to Martin Armstrong's number. So watch that zone. A lot of measured moves in play here. You want to be careful and just don't buy it outright, because something wicked this way comes. All right, lastly, let's look at SPY. Taking a look at the chart, that's quite a savage gap down. Yeah, inventory is very negative. Look at that bounce action, just going really nicely at the bottom of the inventory accumulation. So yes, inventory is negative. They are going to start to unwind that inventory event, but probably not for another couple of hours. So bounces should still be sell zones. What is the SPY doing? It opened up right at the edge of put support, which is 689. That's going to be our line in the sand. It loses that zone, we're going to have more selling, more than likely. So if it tests this area and loses it, and then bounces and cannot hold 689.50, then we've got ourselves more downside into 687 and then 686, which is the bottom of this large inventory accumulation area. If we bounce at 689 and momentum shifts on the tight time frames, we can trade this long into 691, right? That's the next targeted alert zone. 691 to 692, look at the volume pocket right here. Anchored VWAP, all of these things give us this as probable areas to bounce and filling the gap at 694.50. Watch out for that. Today is going to be a very interesting day. Benzingers, finally back in business. Going to see you guys at the morning hour. Look in the spaces for where our times are, and looking forward to seeing everybody else on the stream. I'll be in group coaching at 1:15 and 1:15 Eastern, and excited about that. Lots to talk about. Hey, take care, everybody. Be alert. Trade small or not at all. Remember, risk management is job one. Take care. See you soon.